What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Proud to be with everybody. It is June 10th, 2025. We're coming off a great week for the Motor Stardom show. We had Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on last week, and it was an absolute fun time. Great guest, great laughs, and obviously great information, some great quotes that we were somehow, I guess, able to maybe at least pay some sort of influence for a conversation between him and Carson Hocevar. So that's really cool. But somebody's back with us that wasn't with us last week. Mason Maggio, hopefully feeling a little bit better. I guess you were a little bit under the weather last week. Bad week for you. And you raced under the weather as well, from what I was told per sources, which was you. But glad to have you back. How you feeling?
A lot better since then. I was definitely bummed that we missed out on a great guest with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Obviously, a lot of stuff that you guys were able to talk about that I was in the loop with as well. But no, a great episode nonetheless. Happy to see the interaction with the fans and seeing the equal amount of excitement that we had. But yeah, like I said, bummed that I missed it. Was under the weather the whole weekend, even when I was in the race car. Didn't even have once the adrenaline ran off, I actually didn't have a lot of strength to even get out of the car. But, thankfully we were able to come away with a decent result and have a good run. But, yeah, excited to be back on tonight. We got a great guest with Patrick Staropoli coming on the show, a fellow competitor in both the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, as well as the ARCA Series this year. So we're excited to have him on and kind of getting to know him a little bit more. And we also got a lot to talk about with Michigan this past weekend.
Yeah, bringing Patrick on is going to be awesome. Obviously, he's done starts in Xfinity Truck and ARCA this year, coming back after literally a decade of not racing in NASCAR's top series. And, just announcing yesterday as well that there's going to be some more starts for him. So we'll be able to talk about that a little later in the show here when we bring him on in just a little bit. But we can talk about Michigan. Obviously was maybe more of a fun weekend than people expected. I think the racing that we saw, at least I didn't expect it to be as maybe captivating in the Cup Series, but I think it just maybe the way the cautions fell, the restarts fell, but obviously getting a fuel strategy finish there, kind of classic to what we've seen before at Michigan, places like Pocono, was a lot of fun to see the drivers strategizing that out. We don't see that as much anymore with all the overtime restarts we get, but it seems like the last 3 weeks, Charlotte, Nashville, and Michigan, Prime has really gotten their chance to hype us up for a good finish because we've gotten some long runs of the finishes, which I've really enjoyed. So Denny Hamlin, winner at Michigan. What'd you think about the race overall?
Yeah, I thought it was a great race. It was entertaining from start to finish in my eyes. The product was great. We had a lot of excitement with, like you said, with pit strategy, who was going to make it in or make it to the end on fuel rather. And, really being able to is kind of the perfect storm if you're like a newer NASCAR fan too, because you got a little bit of every different aspect. We had some exciting racing. We saw some wrecks, some blown tires. We saw some fuel strategy. I felt like if you were a brand new NASCAR fan, that was probably the perfect race to watch because you got every aspect of it. So, and then, like you said, Prime has done a phenomenal job. I just really, really enjoy just the broadcasting, the energy, the excitement behind it. The post-race show has been really fun to watch as well. You can't go wrong with talking racing and then chugging back a beer and a red Solo cup in my eyes. So that's been they're just having fun with it. And that's something I feel like that we've needed to have with our sport is just have a little bit of fun, but at the same time, it's informative and it's taking the sport seriously, which is, I think, something that as fans, we've wanted for a long time. We want people to take NASCAR racing seriously because unfortunately it's been under this stereotype of it's just guys going in circles.
Yeah.
That's not even half of it. There's so much more to these guys just driving in circles. You know what I mean? And shoot, we don't even drive in circles every week anymore. I mean, we're doing a little bit of everything nowadays, but no, I give a ton of props to Prime for what they've been able to do so far this year. It's been really exciting to see that, and I hope we can have that same enthusiasm throughout the year as we go to NBC, TNT, all these other broadcasting networks throughout the season. But Yeah, I've loved every minute of Prime, and it's going to be exciting to see how the broadcast as well as racing this weekend as a whole is going to be in Mexico City. So that's going to be exciting, to watch that and to see, hear from my friends in the garage area how that event plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see how Mexico plays out and how that's portrayed to us via broadcast over here as we stay here in America. Wish I was traveling down there to the Mexico race. It seems like it's going to be a lot of fun, a big time weekend. I almost had an opportunity to try, missed the opportunity to go get my passport. So we're going to try to get on that next year, as you know, assuming we'll be back down there and hit up that Mexico race. But Amazon Prime has done a fantastic job, and they haven't shied away from the storylines and the potential beef between drivers. And look at, we'll just put this picture up here. Look at these two best friends up here talking it out. You know what I mean? And I don't want to, overstate our aura here as a show and obviously what we were able to do this week. But, the events where obviously we had Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on the show. He said on here that Hostfar hadn't called him and, he'll be looking for a call or else he's going to have some words to say in person on Friday. And then Hocevar was able to call him on Wednesday after the fact, went on Sirius XM as well. And then following that, as a follow-up, Sirius XM had Stenhouse on, said that he did indeed call him. And as you can see here, they're having, I'm sure, a wonderful exchange of words at the racetrack. So again, kind of just like how we kicked off the show, talking about the episode that we have. I hate that you missed it, man. We really missed having you there. But just the fact that the overall brand of the show is out there, the Motor Stardom show, and it's going to be a great summer for the show. We're going to have a lot of great guests, more great guests on, obviously including Patrick Staropoli today. And I'm excited. But isn't it cool that they were kind of playing with the storyline there? And actually, I mean, they gave us a whole throwback to Dale Jr. versus Carl Edwards on the show, talking about how that was similar to what happened here. I think that was that kind of stuff is what we want to see, and was very cool to see, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's making it where it's fun to watch, and we're able to, really have it be informative and fun, which is, again, like I said before, it's what we've kind of been missing from a broadcast team. So that's been really cool to see. I thoroughly enjoyed the Carl Edwards Dale Jr. segment. I feel like that's a feud that isn't talked about very much. Was with that, I guess back then Bush race. I feel like it's something that hadn't been talked about a lot. And I thought it was really cool that we were able to kind of look back at that and get both Carl and Dale's perspective on that whole deal. And that was really fun to watch. And they had fun in the process, right? I mean, that was years ago. They're both retired and have bigger and better things going on. So they were able to kind of laugh and give each other's perspective on it. So I thought that was really unique to be able to kind of have them address some previous beef that, again, isn't talked about much, but it was, I thought it was just genuinely fun to watch, and then them talking about it on the broadcast too. So it's and then we kind of helped squash a beef from Nashville. So
Hey, man.
I'm not saying we did, but I'm saying I think we had a pretty major influence on how Michigan played out for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Carson Hocevar. So we'll get our thanks later. We're not going to take credit, but we will. Yeah, no, it's been, again, I got to give a lot of props to Prime. They've been phenomenal. I think a lot of people are enjoying it, all except the boomers that can't find it on cable, give it the times. But other than that, I thoroughly enjoy watching it. It makes me excited to watch cup racing again. So that's been really awesome.
Yeah, the last 3 weeks have been tremendous. Mexico is going to be amazing as well. We hope the energy continues into TNT, but we're also going to be able to talk some Xfinity racing here, some upcoming Xfinity races. Awesome announcements yesterday out of the Sam Hunt Racing Group. So let's bring in our guest for today's show, Patrick Staropoli. First of all, how we doing?
Hey, guys. Thank you very much for having me on.
Awesome to have you here. And like I mentioned, I mean, we'll just jump right into it, talking about recent events, and we'll get into everything after that. Big announcement yesterday that you're coming back into the saddle for Sam Hunt Racing for some races down the road here in the season. I think that is awesome, and I'm incredibly glad to hear that you're going to be back in the saddle, especially after your success when you were in the car earlier in the year. What does that mean for you, the team, and to just get back out there on the racetrack?
Yeah, no, thanks a lot. I'm super psyched about this. It's kind of something heading into the season, talking to Sam and trying to map out if we'd be able to do a couple of races. We started off not wanting to bite off more than we can chew, doing Martinsville kind of in my wheelhouse, growing up short track racing, and we had a really strong showing there. I think minded my manners that day. There was a lot of excitement at the end of that race. But had a solid run with those guys. Obviously, stepping up to the Xfinity Series is a huge jump. A lot more elements to those races, strategy, all the pit stops. So it was a big learning curve. But I'm glad that it went well, and those guys saw some potential to do more races with me this year. And the lineup is solid. All bucket list places. Atlanta's going to be crazy, especially with the reconfiguration recently, and then how that track's been weathering. I think the Xfinity Series race this year is going to be super interesting since they already seem to be losing a lot of grip, not really as much pack racing compared to the other series. So that's going to be a big question mark. Kansas is going to be awesome. It's one of the places you could rip the fence, and we are going to do the fall race at Martinsville as well. So getting to see a track, twice in 1 year, I think is going to be huge for me. So yeah, man, couldn't be more excited to get back with those guys and run some more races.
Awesome. So the fact that, you're going to be back at Martinsville, a track that you already have a notebook on, is awesome. Very, very, very cool. You mentioned Atlanta, which is now Echo Park Speedway as of this week, the big rebrand over there. And then Kansas. Those are two really very dynamic tracks, not just for NASCAR, but for the Xfinity Series. For you as a guy that has already jumping back into stock car racing and now running an ARCA car and a truck and an Xfinity car all in the same year, where you've just run a selection of races, how cool is that? Because obviously I know there's a lot of full-time drivers out there that do it. It's challenging to go back and forth between each car and see the differences. But for you, I mean, just jumping in there a few times so far already this year and to run 3 different types of stock cars, how fun has that been, and also how challenging has it been? You learn one and then you're right into the next one.
Yeah, exactly. It's been exactly how you described it. A lot of fun, but also really challenging. I mean, I think each car, whether it's ARCA, truck, or Xfinity, they all have different driving characteristics, different ways that you mess with the aero. But a lot of it too is the people. I mean, it's who you're racing against, how they race you, the teams that you're working with. Obviously, it's a lot of crew chiefs you have to gel with, people on the team, and how you communicate. All that stuff matters so much. And when you work with one team consistently throughout the year, that conversation gets more and more nuanced. And, when you're reporting back how the car is feeling, everyone kind of knows based on how you talk and what you say, what to do. In this case, you're jumping back and forth between teams. And even sometimes, depending how the personnel shuffle around, I'm not even working with the same guys, even when I'm running the ARCA car, for example. So it's been a lot of learning on the fly. I think it's good. It makes you versatile and ready to adapt. And I mean, every race this year, I've learned a ton, and I've come away from it a better driver. So kind of just going with the flow.
Absolutely. So, Patrick, with all the different disciplines and you kind of getting back into the NASCAR scene, what's the ultimate goal for you? Is it to be back full time in one of those 3 series? Is it to maybe chase a championship in the ARCA series, or go full time with a team like Sam Hunt or Cook Technologies in Xfinity or trucks? Is there a long-term goal for you, or is it, hey, man, I want to come back, be able to check off some bucket list items and be able to have a little bit of fun in the process?
Yeah. I mean, easy answer is all of the above, man. Race car drivers want to race. So, I mean, anything with a steering wheel and 4 tires on it, I want to get out there and wheel that thing. And it's been a opportunity of a lifetime to be able to come back and race in all these different divisions this year. And if things were to work out to continue doing it, be full-time in any of the series, I'd be more than happy to kind of go and pursue that. So just want to be in a race car as much as possible. And I'm hoping that the showings we've had this year have been solid enough that it'll convert into something full-time next year.
Yeah, that is always the goal of a driver. And I mean, to be in the spot where you're in, right, where you have run, I mean, was it 10 years ago? Trying to do exactly the math.
Roundabout, yeah. Don't round up too high.
I mean, for people obviously that have gotten into the sport newer, in the last 7 to 8 years, they might not know who in the heck you are, right? Coming over and saying like, oh, here's this new rookie on the block. Wait, he actually raced 10 years ago. How does that happen? What goes into kind of the time that you took off from racing to now coming back 10 years later? And how much does that mean to you as well, to be able to come back and then, I mean, geez, hop in an Xfinity car and finish 16th at Martinsville right off the bat? I mean, come on, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. My journey with racing has always been pretty unique. So the time that I had off, I was still trying to race as much as possible. I'm from South Florida originally. And, since the last foray I had into NASCAR, I went back and I finished medical school. I did residency, fellowship, and basically live in the hospital during that period of time. So, why they call it residency. So I didn't get out much, but when I did, I was racing super late models in Florida, did some tour type modified racing last year. So anytime I could get behind the wheel, I was doing it. We were able to pick off a couple wins, each season the last few years, just running some short track stuff in Florida and trying to stay sharp so that if the stars ever align and I got an opportunity like this again, I'd be ready to go for it. And fortunately, it's worked out pretty well so far. So just trying to stay in the seat and be ready for anything that comes up.
We're out in Florida.
All over the place. So mostly race Auburndale Speedway, Citrus County Speedway. Been to New Smyrna a lot. Showtime Speedways over in St. Pete. Obviously, Freedom Factory. They run like 1 or 2 super late model races a year. So I've started in pure stocks at Hialeah Speedway when I was 13 years old, and I've raced Florida short tracks my whole life.
Yeah, I'm over here in Tampa, so I'm about a 30-minute drive from Showtime. That's the closest track to me. Mason's over there on the east coast of Florida. I don't know what the closest track to you is, Mason. Closest notable short track.
Probably not a short track, but I did have one track that was close to me. It was a road course though. It was Palm Beach International Raceway. I lived close to there, and I'm from the Jupiter area, so that kind of hits close to home to me. And believe it or not, I've never run New Smyrna or anything like that. Being a Florida native and growing up in Florida, I've never really ran a whole lot of Florida races up until I got up in the NASCAR and started running Homestead every year since I've been a part of it, and then Daytona recently back in February. But I've heard a lot of cool things about places like New Smyrna. It's definitely on the bucket list if I can ever get an opportunity. But all those places are really cool. I've been to Auburndale, I've been to Citrus County, and Florida competition is no joke. They bring out some stiff competition, and those are some pretty big events as well. I think it's the Florida scene's not, in my opinion at least, not talked about as much versus the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, places like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Florida's weirdly enough been kind of secluded for a lot of years. Like, it's a lot of the regulars that race a lot of the Florida tracks. And I think probably the last 5 to 10 years, I mean, the World Series has gotten more press than ever. I think since NASCAR kind of came in and started helping New Smyrna out, and that's got it a little bit more back on the national scale. But you're right, Florida's always sort of done its own thing, but the competition's really intense. And I think you kind of cut your teeth doing that. You're ready to race anywhere. So that's cool, man. Small world. So I'm from Fort Lauderdale, so not too far from Jupiter, and I go to Tampa a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
You're right over there. Yeah, and it's hot down here. So I don't know where you're at right now.
Living in Houston now, but it's also hot here. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, it heats up a lot down here. But yeah, Mason, I mean, one more point on that. We got to get you in a late model New Smyrna. What are you doing?
I don't know. I'm trying to be a big time NASCAR driver. At least that's what I'm told I need to be doing. But no, at some point, I've got a few late model connections. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll figure it out. But if that time does come, I know who I got to call to get some pointers here. So that'll be a good deal.
Covered, man.
Yeah, he's got you covered for sure. So I go ahead and I mean we'll stick with I guess what was going on years ago. I pull up and find some pictures and go through them, usually throwback pictures, so you can kind of describe to me what's going on here. Obviously, it seems like this one's pretty self-explanatory. You got yourself a W.
Yeah.
Is this Irwindale, right?
This is Irwindale. Yeah.
Yeah. So take me through this night and from what you remember about that track. Obviously, RIP Irwindale, the memories that a lot of people had there. But take me through this night, how fun of a track that was to drive on. Obviously, sucks it's gone. But also, when was this? Do you remember what year?
Yeah, so this was pretty much coolest night of my whole life. So this was March of 2014. This was K&N West Series at the time. The whole deal I had with Peak, I won the Peak Stock Car Dream Challenge. It was like reality TV, kind of second version of the Gong Show. And the grand prize for that was one race in the K&N series, driving for Bill McAnally, and I finished 5th in my first start. So everyone was, I think, surprised and impressed with that. So they gave me a couple more races, and this was, I think, my 5th start in the K&N series, and we got the W at Irwindale. And that was, I mean, it was huge. I grew up watching tons of races from Irwindale on TV. They had the Toyota All-Star Showdown out there. And I was like, man, this is the coolest track. It was one of the first ones, you know, that had progressive banking and you could run the apron all the way up to the wall. And I always thought it'd be so cool if I got to race there. And then it was on the schedule. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be an awesome, awesome night. And the track, you know, eats tires. You had to be super conservative. I watched back a bunch of races. At the time, there were some great veterans in that series. You had, you know, David Mayhew and Greg Pursley, who've won a ton of races, you know, growing up watching them. And so when that race started, I think we qualified third or fourth, and we ran up towards the front at the beginning. And I saw the two of them start drifting to the back of the field. And I was like, all right, if they're saving, then I need to be saving too, because you didn't get any pit stops in this race. It was straight shot on one set of tires that you had. So I think at one point we were back in like 18th or 19th, about to go a lap down to the leader. And then all of a sudden I saw them in my rearview mirror start taking off and passing cars. And I was like, all right, it's time to go. And then we all just hauled butt up through the field. I think we did catch one caution that helped bunch everything back up. And then we got up there and flew by those guys that had used their tires up and won the race. So don't really get to tell that story too often, but I think it was as much about having a good car as recognizing what the veterans were doing and outsmarting them. And my first big NASCAR win and kind of changed my whole life. So it was an awesome race, awesome night.
Yeah, that's awesome. I heard about that reality show the show. I don't know, whatever we want to call it, that you were able to win to get that race. And that's awesome to get peak on the car. Didn't it? What driver did that have something to do with? Was it, did I read Michael Waltrip?
Yes, it was Michael Waltrip Racing. They were a sponsor at the time of his team, so it was kind of partnered with them. So Michael was there. They had, you know, Martin Truex, Clint Boyer, Mark Martin, Danica Patrick. I think Vickers was there. So it was the whole team of them, and they were all the judges. There was 700 or 800 people who posted videos online saying why they should pick them, and they narrowed it down to 9 finalists, 3 days long. Chase Briscoe was in it, Logan Ruffin, a couple really good race car drivers back then, and ended up winning the deal. And that's how I got those starts in NASCAR. Like you said, a very short 10 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, it's a big full circle moment to be where we're at, and, you know, to be in that race. And then we talk about the infamous Martinsville Xfinity race, which we've talked about a gazillion times probably on this show, at least as far as the finish of that. I used to have the whole finish on this feed, but I don't anymore. But Mason, kind of, I mean, you've been over this again many times, that finish at Martinsville. If you want to recap your positioning of what you saw, where did you result in that race again? Exactly.
Like 25th, I think. But I ran out of tires there at the end and was just playing defense the whole rest of the race. Mm-hmm. But I don't know about you, Patrick, but as soon as I came out of turn 4, all I saw was smoke, and basically my spotter told me just stop. Just stop. Yep. You're on your own at that point. I can't see anything. But no, it was crazy. And then I think at one point on the restart, you had gotten shoved out of the way, if I remember, like on the outside lane, which, I mean, that was probably one of the craziest races I've been a part of in NASCAR. I mean, shoot, even I think when you and I were battling at one point, I mean, there was a couple of guys that were still playing bumper tag, and I'm like, dude, we're running 28th. Like, we got to get it to the end of the stage. But exactly. that was a wild night for a lot of guys. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a lot. It was my first Xfinity race, you know, and I didn't know what to expect. And the further we got into it, I'm like, man, this is like a, you know, street stock race at Auburndale Speedway. So I was kind of used to seeing what I saw, just wasn't expecting it there. And like you said, we were up to we were 10th on that green white checkered at the end. And I think as soon as we crossed the start finish line, I got hooked and turned into the wall. And fortunately, you know, rejoined the pack. And like you said, all the wrecks there coming to the checkered, we ended up back in 16th. But it was looking like a really solid night. I'm sure a lot of guys were saying it was looking really solid until it wasn't. So the attrition, you know, helped and hurt us, but it was definitely a race I'll remember for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Either one of you can answer this question, or both of you. But you know, obviously, if you're heading down to Martinsville in the fall, Mason, I don't know if I can't remember if you're planning. Hopefully, if it wasn't already set in stone that you'll be heading down to Martinsville in the fall. What do you think? What do you guys think the drivers' meeting is going to be like for that one? We know how it was. I don't know, Patrick, if you heard how it was the following week after Martinsville. Mason didn't get to be a part of it either because he wasn't racing, so he didn't get yelled at, and neither did you. But what do you think that drivers meeting is going to be like when we head back to the track of the incidents?
Probably reiterating whatever they told them at Darlington. So I don't know if me and Mason are going to get our own special meeting because we didn't hear it one time already. But I don't know, man. That race is always crazy too in the fall because you're in, chase and all kinds of crazy stuff happens at that point. But yeah, I'm sure it'll be a pretty stern drivers meeting. Hopefully we don't have as much chaos at the end.
Yeah. What do you think, Mason?
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't imagine since we already got the slap on the wrist at Darlington. I mean I didn't, but everybody else that was full time was. But to Patrick's point, I think it definitely is going to be more competitive because of the playoffs and guys trying to get there, give themselves a shot at a championship at Phoenix the next week. So and with me even running there last year in the fall, I felt like it was even more intense than the one in the spring, if that makes any sense. I mean, it seems crazy considering both races were wild. I mean, I remember driving by Cole Custer and Chandler Smith fighting each other. So I was like, well, that's pretty crazy in itself, let alone the wreck on the front stretch with the spring race. But no, I mean, Martinsville's always been about creating excitement in short track racing, right? So it's bound to be exciting. Especially with the playoffs on the line and guys trying to, clinch a spot to go race for a championship at Phoenix. So it's going to be nothing short of entertaining if you're a fan. But if you're a driver, you are going to be on pins and needles every single lap. So, but yeah. So does this mean now that we're Florida natives, Patrick? I gotta take it a little easier on you, just out of respect for another Florida native.
Found some common ground now, so yeah,
we have found common ground.
What's really funny is I was about to bring this guy up because I was going to start talking about Bristol, and this guy that I'm about to bring in really hates Bristol, and I was going to ask you how you felt about Bristol. So I guess without further ado, we'll have this guy ask the question. Stephen Malazzi has joined us again with the Blazer for the third week in a row. Glad to have you in here, Stephen. First of all, before you ask Patrick about your favorite track, Bristol, how are you doing?
Pretty good, man. How are you? I'm
good,
eating a Tums because I got indigestion from all the work I've been doing. It's driving me crazy. So, yeah, these are actually delicious. They're creamsicle and orange, so they're actually phenomenal.
Shout out David Ruderman.
Sorry, no idea what you guys talked about yet. My bad. I just got here. I'm a little late.
Okay.
So I guess I'll just pick up where they left off and ask you about Bristol. I hate Bristol. Bristol, least favorite racetrack on the schedule. Obviously, I want to mention, super interesting story. I imagine you've already covered that part of it, right? The eye doctor going to Harvard.
We haven't gotten into everything.
Look, all I'm saying is not many people relate to you. I get it, man. I get it. Law school, racing, there's a lot of weird parallels there. Anyways, talk to me about Bristol. What do you think?
I mean, I'm curious why you don't like Bristol so much. I love the track. I didn't get to race it very much this year. We ran the truck race there. We broke a transmission like 5 laps into the race, but I have raced it once before, about a decade ago in the K&N series. And I mean, it's a blast, multi-lane track, carry a lot of momentum, tons of speed. What's not to like about it? That's
funny. I also broke about 4.5 laps into the Bristol truck race. So that's funny. Dude, I don't know. It's just it's never been RJ, I think that's funny. It's just for me, every time I get on that racetrack, it's just not it for me. It's funny because you think probably two of the more similar tracks are Bristol and Martinsville, even though they're totally different. I really like Martinsville a lot. Love Martinsville, love the chaos, love it. Bristol, I just feel like to me is like a nightmare. And I guess it's just a traumatic experience that kind of feeds my hatred of Bristol. But I don't like it. For me, my favorite racetrack is Pocono. It's actually Pocono. I freaking love Pocono. I have so much fun there. I think I'm more of a bigger track guy. I guess it has a lot to do with the fact that when you drive for a smaller team, you can – my phone's going off. You can focus more on what you're doing as opposed to focused on getting lapped by 37 cars every 15 seconds. So for me, I think I've learned way more as a driver at the bigger racetracks because you get more time to focus on what you're doing as opposed to just focus on not wrecking somebody in the playoffs. So that's my take. Maybe that's
Yeah.
and like maybe if I had a like a super badass $300,000 race car, I'd feel differently about it. And like if you're up front, I bet you Bristol is a ton of fun. But if you're in the back, it is like a back marker's worst nightmare. And I think we've established many times in this show, king of the back markers right here. It's what I'm known for. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents, I guess.
No, I can definitely see what you mean. I mean, I was on edge there. The transmission, our issue, it kept popping out of gear every couple laps. So you can imagine flying around Bristol, and then all of a sudden it would pop out either into neutral or go into third gear, and then make the wheel hop in the middle of the corner, and then you have leaders already faster coming up on you, and you're just a moving roadblock. So that's no fun. But like you said, when you do run good there, my first time there, I think in the K&N car, we started 26th and ended up finishing 5th or 6th. So we were rolling, passing people. Like you said, it's a lot more fun when you're on the right side of the speed chart there.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
It's fun, more fun when you're up front than getting lapped. I imagine it's pretty dicey too when people are going by, and you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to.
Don't want to be on the replay list for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to name names, but Texas incident. You don't be that guy that takes out Justin Allgaier from the lead, or I couldn't think of any other incident.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
I couldn't think of anything else. But you don't want to be that guy that whether you meant to do it or not takes out that guy. From as a lap car, you just want to mind your P's and Q's and see what happens. So Steven hit the nail on the head when he came in here. Let's talk about. We had a guy on in the past a few weeks back, Jason Alexander. He was a high school, college athlete, big marketing guy that now is just running, NASCAR races, living his dream, right? You are a retina surgeon. You are a man that works in the medical field, and you are also driving race cars. To have that double life, what was the I had the damn tweet screenshotted. The Sam Hunt tweet. I said, the doctor is in. Patrick Staropoli will make will race the number 24 at Atlanta and Kansas. How cool it is to have that double life there where you're kind of doing 2 things at once, where you have people over here, people over here. You get to be a doctor and also drive race cars really fast.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. It's a dream come true. The deal I had with my parents when I first started racing, and then all my car owners and sponsors and stuff I've had over the years, is I always had to put school first. And obviously, kids have dreams. You want to be professional in anything, athlete, whether that's in other sports or in racing. And, it gets really narrow the closer you get to the top, and the chances of making a full-time living at that's really hard. So school was always a priority. So I've kind of juggled these 2 things my whole life. Went through college and then med school and all the training after that, and to kind of see it all culminate together now where I can, be a surgeon during the week and help people, save them from emergency, conditions where they can lose their sight. And then that same week, fly to a racetrack and then go race in a national NASCAR series. I mean, it seems unreal. I mean, this year has just kind of been really hard to wrap my head around that it's happening. And sometimes I just got to stop and be like, dang, I can't believe, both of these things are simultaneous. But yeah, man, I consider myself like the luckiest person in the world that I have the opportunity to do both these things. I'm just trying to enjoy all of it 100%.
Yeah.
My mom and dad were the same way. When I was growing up, they were always like, hey, we will do this. We will help you race. We will figure it out. We will work with you to get it done. But you're giving me straight A's. Like I don't want to hear any of this B+ bullshit. Give me an A or you're not racing. And yeah, I remember like I did once in high school get a B. It was like, oh no, I hated my chemistry class and I was really always bad at chem. And I got a B+, I think. And my dad for the club race that weekend in karting did not buy me new tires. And he's like, we're running the race on old tires. He's like, I'm not going to penalize you because you're in a championship fight. He's like, but I am. He's like, you are going to go and you're going to run on old tires all weekend long. So it's really funny to hear you talk about the no
similar experiences that way.
Yeah. We've heard a lot of parental stories. Mason's had his. What was the late model story? What guest did we have on when you were running somebody bad in the late models or something? You got yelled at.
Yeah.
Bad boy in the late model.
That was the closest my dad had ever been to parking me because I was in a battle for third of all things. And I mean, so the week prior, I had another competitor that had like shipped me for the lead, and I was still ticked off about it. And then he tried to ship me again for third. So I was like, all right, it's fair game. So, I mean, lap after lap after lap, we're just going into the corner, sending each other firewall deep at Hickory of all places. And I don't know how none of us didn't wreck, but we kept going after it again and again and again. And apparently, my dad was standing on top of the hauler, and he's like, I didn't raise my kid to be driving like that. Like, somebody tell him he's going to be parked, he's done, blah, 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 blah. And I got a stern talking to after that. And honestly, like it's humbled me, and it also taught me, hey, appreciate your equipment. Like don't take any frustrations or anger towards another driver or a situation, whatever, out on your own equipment, because these guys are working super hard to give you a good race car and to give you an opportunity to go compete. Don't go tear it up doing something stupid, because then that ultimately not only reflects you, but it reflects your team, and it doesn't make them feel like their hard work was for anything. So I've always kind of kept that on my sleeve as well, and have said, hey, I need, if I'm mad, I'm going to just confront somebody outside of the car. But I'm not going to take it out on my equipment. I'm not going to take it out on anybody else's equipment. And lo and behold, I apologized to the guy the next week. And that was the difference in me winning a race, because we were first and second, and we raced each other super clean. And I ended up coming out on top. So it showed me that treating others with respect is ultimately going to help you. Not that I wasn't before, but it's just situation wise, don't take things too personally. At the end of the day, it also is racing. There's a bigger picture at the end of the day, not just to racing, but to life. So that's kind of the way that I've taken it with, and kind of the vision that my dad gave to me whenever I was finished up with that shoving match, we'll call it.
Love that. The Xfinity at Martinsville preview match is what we like to call that. We talked about Xfinity at Martinsville before you came in, Steven, again, for like the probably 6th or 7th time in this show, because we keep having guests that were in that melee. So we're getting everybody's perspective, and it's great.
God, I wish I had been in that melee.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. I'm waiting. I'm telling you right now, I am waiting for the day that someone that I don't like, I don't care who it is, there's a lot of people I have things against, takes me out in a race car. Because I'm going. I'm gonna make my place, and I'm gonna be in NASCAR highlight commercials for the next 15 years because of the way I will throw down on pit road when certain people are to wreck me. Now, Pat, Patrick, I got another question for you.
Yes.
What has being a medical professional taught you that you've been able to carry over to racing, if anything?
That's a good question. I think it's really two things from medicine that translate over to the racing stuff. The first thing, obviously, part of my job is surgery and operating. And anytime you go into a surgery, you need to have like your plan A, B, C, D, all the way down the line, because there's tons of things that could be unexpected that go wrong, and you always have to be thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead. And that's kind of how I approach a lot of my races. Obviously, you want to unload and be bad fast off the truck and lap the whole friggin' field and be way ahead of everyone, but rarely does it work out like that. And so you need to kind of know in your head what to expect, what kind of feedback you need to give to the team, depending how the race is going, how you need to drive the car. Like Mason was saying, when you need to really battle for a position or when you need to just let it go and make it to the end of the stage and get another chance to take a swing at it. So I think like being calm under pressure, like you have to do when you're operating, and thinking even when you're under a high intensity situation is the one skill that kind of translates between both. And I think learning my craft as a surgeon has made me a better race car driver, and vice versa. The other thing too is even just how to approach problem solving in racing. So in medicine, I mean, people talk about it, you come up with a differential for like what could be wrong with someone. You come up with a treatment that has like the most benefit for them and the least amount of side effects. And it's the same thing we do with the race car. You try to identify what specific part of the track you're having the biggest problem in, and then list your adjustments top to bottom, what's going to help you the most right there and not screw up the rest of the corner. And obviously, I'm getting spoiled this year. I get to drive for Sam Hunt. They have some really smart crew chiefs and engineers that can figure that stuff out for me. But growing up and even still running my late model, I mean, me and my dad work on the car ourselves, and I make all those adjustments. And so just the whole thought process of how to tune your car, I think is really similar to how you take care of patients. It's just dealing with two different, subject matters. So there's a lot of parallels between the two.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And people never would have thought there was an answer to that question.
Yeah.
Well, clearly I did. Otherwise I wouldn't have asked it, RJ.
Well, that's fair.
In all honesty, though, it is great perspective. I mean, when you really think about the you wouldn't think that they're parallel in any way, but they really are. So, I mean, that's honestly like a great perspective to look at it from your side, Patrick, from having experience in both fields. So that's really interesting and honestly really intriguing for I think for all of us to hear. So that's really cool to see how the two worlds can collide in that aspect.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that is awesome. And sorry, Steve, I wasn't hating on your question. That was a beautiful question.
No.
It's a beautiful question because of the fact that average person would have been like, "What are you talking about?" And then, then we get that beautiful answer, and that's cool how two worlds relate. And I want to ricochet that back to you, Steven.
Okay, hit me.
How do you feel like you being in your field, law school, has that had any help with your racing career?
No.
Oh, okay. What about being a server at Outback?
Yes. That
well, technically, yes.
So the difference is I haven't really been a lawyer long enough, and I'm actually still not admitted in any bar, so technically not a lawyer at all yet. Although I am a summer associate, which is very close to a legal position, right? To really say what's been going on here. But I will say, like, at the end of the day, being something like a service industry worker really teaches you how to treat people. And that's an important part of the business side of racing every day of the week, right? You can get just as far with a certain amount of money as you can with understanding how to treat people the right way. And like, I'll be honest, and this is something my old man used to say to me, things cost more when you're not a good person. Right. And like, that's not a metaphorical expression. Sometimes if you're a dick and people don't want to work with you, they're going to probably charge you more money to do it. Meanwhile, a lot of the deals I've gotten away with making in my day have been because, hey, like, I'm always there when people ask me to help out. And that's kind of like what being a server is, right? You always have to treat people with respect, no matter how they treat you. You always have to keep a cool head. You're in the service industry. Your job is to sort of, be there for people when they ask you to be there. So yeah, I guess that's a good follow-up too. One of the only, thank you. That is a really sexy photo. That is not where's the John Belushi pic? Get it up. Come on. Let's see it. Yeah, there we go. I'm actually seeing it. The nicer I dress, the less I see it, but actually, like, let me do it real quick.
That's the complete opposite in my eyes, Steven. The nicer you dress, the more I think, and I can speak on everybody's behalf when I say this, the more we actually see it.
I thought this was a picture of you.
Patrick, don't get on the list of people who I'm hoping wreck me, okay, buddy? I got another question for you, Patrick. How has being a medical professional helped you in the sponsorship game? How has it helped you network and branch out? If you have been able to use it.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely helped. The story itself is obviously unique, and that's something that I think at various points in my life has helped me get into certain roles. So I guess the last time I raced in NASCAR, my only truck start prior to this year, we had a pink truck, and it was for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. It was the National Drive Pink Camp. There you go. Got the picture right there.
Oh, yeah.
Decked out. Still have that fire suit somewhere. But this was really cool. This was for the Auto Nation Cure Bowl, which was a college NCAA bowl game. Over 2 years, the whole campaign, which I was a small part of, helped raise over $2.2 million for breast cancer research. I was a medical student at the time. I was involved in some research about breast cancer. So just everything sort of lined up to promote this cause. I also have celiac disease, so I have to be gluten-free, not by choice, but I've done some work with the Beyond Celiac organization in the past. So there's been lots of points in my life where I've tried to use the racing platform to promote important causes in medicine. And that's what's so great about racing, man. It's an awesome platform for anything. It grabs people's attention. It helps raise a lot of awareness. And in this case, it helped, raise a lot of funding for a very important cause.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful truck too. Beautiful suit. Been to that at Camping World Stadium over there. It's a fun time. So glad you were able to.
I gotta actually go back to you for a second. I don't like my answer to your question. I'm gonna re-answer it. Racing has not helped, or law school has not helped at all with racing, but racing has helped a lot with being a lawyer. Yes, I know that's crazy, but the amount of interaction and sales and being a sort of business person in racing has taught me, I think, is going to translate miles and put me miles ahead of people when it comes to client retention, when it comes to client interaction, when it comes to that sort of stuff in the legal field. So I'll reverse it on you to answer your question. No, I'm not sure that law school has helped me that much with racing, but I think racing has probably helped me a lot in my growth as a lawyer.
Heck yeah.
Gotcha.
And I respect that.
Right, Patrick's answer inspired me there, so I had to. I feel like I had to come up with something better than what I
translated back and forth.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, to that point though, kind of going back to what we were talking about with kind of utilizing racing to promote bigger and causes. I love it when we can all come together and find a reason to help bring awareness to something, whatever that may be. Right? There's a lot of things out there that need the attention and the promotion in order to get the word out there and bring awareness, whether it's a disease, a cause, first responders, whatever it may be. So I absolutely love it when, people are able to utilize that and put it into the racing world. And, it also reminds people, hey, there's bigger things going on in life that, people need help with, or we need to address and help, for a bigger picture. So I absolutely love how you've been able to utilize that with your truck start a couple of years ago, and then obviously what you're doing, with the medical field and being able to translate that into your racing as well this year. So that's really awesome, Patrick.
Awesome. Yes. And before we let you go here, Patrick, we're talking about branding and sponsors and everything. Thankfully, we have a wonderful sponsor that allows us to let the fans ask you some questions, ask our guests some questions every week. We're gonna ramp it up 2 questions per week because we've got some great questions flooding in here. We had some great questions for Ricky Stenhouse last week as well. Most of them were about the same thing. How do you feel about Carson Hostvar, and are you going to punch him in the face? But we already had covered those, so we picked some other questions. So we'll run you 2 here. The first one, presented by our wonderful sponsor, Densey, who creates great energy pouches, but also allows us to ask our guests questions. Gallon the Gamer here says, what was the major differences between your first stint in stock cars and your return now?
That's a good question. I would say, apart from the changes in the cars, I am running bigger tracks this year. I did a lot of short tracks my first time around. So learning the aero game has been pretty important. Obviously the ARCA series and the trucks are all over to the Ilmore motor now, which they weren't the first time around. So those drive a little bit differently. But I think you guys probably talk about on here every week, just the culture of the sport and racing, how people drive each other now. Stage racing is different. Didn't have that before. So the whole mentality of how you approach a race, how aggressive you are. I think that it hasn't really changed my driving style, but it's more just getting used to how other people race you. And I don't know. It's exciting to come back a second time around, have that experience in the back of my mind from before, and then just try to go with the flow and kind of reintegrate myself. So it's cool to have that gap in between and see how the sport's changed over 10 years.
Yeah, and it has changed a lot. Yeah, you notice stage race. If we go back, 10 years, what, from now, 2015? Usually 2014 was obviously the year we implemented the playoffs or the different kind of the eliminator chase and whatnot. But it has changed a lot in the last 10 years. And we'll move to the second question. This one's pretty sick. What was it?
Oh,
what was your SAT score, Patrick?
Oh, man. What was it? That was a while ago now, man. SATs back in high school.
Was yours out of 2,400 back then?
No, it was out of 6. So I'm so old. It was out of 1,600 back in my day.
That's what it was out of for us. So you actually were before they moved it to 24.
Yes.
Because it was 24 for like 12 years in the middle there. By the time I was back in it, it was back to 16.
Okay, gotcha. I think it was 15 something. I don't remember the exact number, but it was up there.
I do, and I'll tell you, mine was 1580.
And I think that was higher than I got. So
Wow.
Being a Harvard grad, I'm accomplished. I'm out.
Yeah.
and I
Well,
took
if
a prep course. I don't know if you needed that, but I did.
I did, but I thought it was so. My mom made me do it, and I thought it was so dumb that I sat like through it and just mocked it the whole time.
Oh man.
It was so stupid. They treated us like preschoolers, and I'm like, I don't want to. And by the way, this was after my first time around, and I hate to admit this because it means that I actually did better after the course. Maybe it was like the inspiration of hatred that I had for this course that drove me to succeed. I got a 14 something my first. I think it was like a 1450 or 60 my first run through. I take the course. I'm like, Mom, I don't know why the F you're making me take a course here. I just got a 1460. What are we talking about? She's like, you'll do better the second time. And then I went out and I got like a 1580. And I'm like, God damn it, Mom. I hate it when you're right, even though that was the worst course I've ever taken.
Well, takeaways here. Mom's always right, and sometimes the second time around is even better. So whether it's SAT or racing, back for seconds this year, and it's going good so far.
And that's life advice from a Harvard grad, guys. Life advice from a Harvard grad.
Yes, sir. We take that to heart. A Harvard grad, obviously not, a billion people get to say that. So thank you, Patrick. Any other closing remarks, compliments?
Real quick. Do we know, are you like, you might be one of the only people in NASCAR history to ever make a NASCAR start and graduate from Harvard. I'm not sure. I don't know of anyone else who's ever done it. And I tried to think of a list earlier of people who may have done it. And I don't know, because honestly, these days, a lot of NASCAR drivers don't even go to college, right? Like, we just don't do it. But the list, hi, Mason Maggio. But the list of people who go to Ivy League schools is even smaller. So I think that's a stat we need to have ready for next show. We should have had it ready for this one, but
it might.
It might be true.
He might be. The only person that is listed associated with NASCAR in any way that is a Harvard graduate is Matt Humphrey, Senior Director of Track Communications at NASCAR. So,
wow.
As far as behind the wheel, Patrick may be.
Wow.
There we go. That was some quick research there.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's impressive.
Shout out Google. All right. For that piece of information. So, man, Patrick, it was amazing having you on the show. Thank you so much for obviously your interest in the show and for coming on and joining us and talking with us. Your story is amazing, and amazing announcement yesterday that you're going to be back in the saddle for those few races, and then as well as Martinsville in the fall. We hope it's a little bit less chaotic for you and everybody else out on the racetrack.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Hopefully have some exciting races this year. I could be back on and talk to you about them. And then just quick shout out to, thank you to Sam Hunt Racing, Toyota, Syfovre, VersaGrips, everyone that's kind of come together and made this deal happen for us this year. And really excited that I get to talk racing with y'all and go out there and do things. So appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Yeah, we will definitely have you back on here down the road. Thank you so much for coming on.
Cool. Thank you guys.
All right. And shout out to Pat Staropoli for joining us. We will certainly have him on here down the road. Amazing story. Obviously, he's going to be making some starts here in the summer and the fall. We're gonna have to have a big lead up to that Martinsville show in the fall.
Yeah.
There's some really cool people in racing, and like Patrick's one of those stories that does not get nearly enough coverage. Do you know how crazy it is that the guy went to Harvard? Like, it is probably proportionately harder to get into Harvard and go and graduate from Harvard than it is to succeed. Like, if I had to guess, the amount of stock car drivers across the country versus the amount of people who apply to Harvard and get in and graduate and make it like stock car to NASCAR versus apply to Harvard and go to Harvard, it's probably a similar ratio. And to do both in the same life is freaking nuts. That's a crazy story.
Yeah, honestly, I was pretty impressed with, getting to hear more of Patrick's story. I've only heard it on the surface, right? Like, he took like a 10-year gap, became a doctor, and was in the medical field, and now he's come back, and that's kind of all I knew. But I love what we're doing, not only with the show, but it allows us to be able to understand other guys' stories that maybe don't get the coverage that they deserve. Obviously, Patrick is not only an accomplished race car driver, he's an accomplished human being by being able to be a surgeon as well as, graduating from Harvard. Those are huge accomplishments. And then obviously winning the Peak antifreeze show back in the day, the Driver Select show. That's a big accomplishment too, as well as winning a K&N race, which, I mean, back then, K&N was no joke. I mean, you had some tough competition out there in the Westfield back then. So, but it's so cool to be able to hear, stories like that, and to be able to give guys like that a platform to be able to share those stories, not only with us, but with our amazing Motor Stardom audience as well.
Yeah, it was amazing to have him on, tell the stories. And it's a big goal to the show is to allow people to come on here, tell their stories, but at the same time have some fun, because I guess we like to have fun sometimes on the show. Last week, again, as we kicked off the show, was a big week for us to be able to get out there and have the Motor Stardom show referenced in articles all across the board, talking about what Ricky Stenhouse Jr. had to say about Carson Hocevar. Me and Mazur were talking about it before you came on here, Steven. Like, we may have helped heal. We love beef on here. We love when drivers can beef with each other, but at the end of the day, it makes everybody happy when drivers can get along at the same time. So, I would have to say that we may have at least temporarily healed a relationship. What do you say, Laws? Nice glasses, by the way.
Thanks. My eyes hurt from staring at a screen all day. Wait, where are the Outback glasses? I don't remember. I do have Outback State. Wait, no, they're not there. Well, now I feel like I'm the only one without sunglasses. I wish I had some Shady Rays on me. Shout out Shady Rays.
Shout out.
Free sunglasses.
It's okay. I got you.
Yeah, we're back. I mean, we're not back.
Baby.
We're not back. I'm actually a little down. I'm a little down. We're actually not racing Pocono anymore. So that's pretty crappy. So no Pocono. I'm going to jump off a bridge.
Well, don't do that. We still need you for next Tuesday.
Gosh.
God, what
and the Tuesday after that, and then the Tuesday after that, and then the Tuesday after that. It wouldn't be the same Motor Stardom show without you. For as much crap as everybody gives you, it wouldn't be the same without you.
We got a lot of motion.
We do have motion.
Here. A lot of motion.
We do have motion. In case you couldn't tell with the glasses, we got motion.
People that
I've never noticed. 5 out of our 6 initials are M or S. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I don't really know why. I'm out of stuff to talk about, man. I mean, what do we got next week? Can we talk about next week a little? Did you guys already cover everything from last week?
You want to sprinkle it in, RJ?
Yeah, we talked about Michigan, and we are getting ready for, obviously, we're going to have a lot to talk about next week about Mexico City. But as far as people we're going to have it on next week, Thomas Nunziata, who has made waves, obviously, in the Trans Am world, now in the Xfinity Series with the Cope Family Racing. He will be joining us next week as well. As far as guests to expect potentially down the road, we're looking at having a few weeks, either the week after that or the weekend after. Taylor Gray will be joining us. And if we want to talk about, that'll really culminate all of our Martinsville talk, will it? Getting Taylor Gray on here after we've gotten, 5th place through 31st opinions on that race.
We're not doing a Gray Brothers show. We're just doing one.
What's that?
We're not doing a Gray Brothers show. We're just doing one of them.
We could get them both on, but
I mean, why wouldn't we get them both on?
You got to let RJ cook, though. Like, we can't interfere with it.
I'm not letting RJ cook. What? I'm letting RJ cook. What is he cooking? What is he cooking? A bunch of ass? You got to get him to cook it.
He's cooking his Outback. No, he's cooking his Outback steak medium, baby.
Yeah,
no,
we're cooking.
How dare you say something like that? You never cook a steak medium. It's medium rare, baby.
Well, and speaking of that, the Venom Truck Series championship races tonight, that iRacing show that we did a few weeks ago, and John Kay is in contention for the championship. And if we remember what John Kay said about how he likes his steak cooked, maybe somebody's got something out for him tonight, but we'll see. I like good medium rare.
Is he in the room with us, RJ?
I'm gonna go find a sim rig right now, and I'm gonna join this.
Is he in the room with us?
But yeah, sorry. It's raining here in Tampa, Florida.
Feels like in Roseville, North Carolina as well.
Do we have anything else to say?
No, it's 8:00. We're about to hit the outro. I will say we will have some College racing guests coming on as well.
Okay.
Christian Eckes will probably be joining us soon. That will be awesome to hear him. And you brought up Tums. We're looking forward to hearing something from David Rudiman very soon as well. We can talk all about Tums with David Rudiman.
I still want to do a commentator show. I still really want Rick Allen and Alan Bestwick on here. Those are two guys that I'm dreaming. Like, I love. They shaped my childhood between the two of them in my commentary experience.
We're also still waiting on Mr. Josh Rayom, and then I'm going to have a conversation with another person that I feel like would be a great guest. And I'm going to give a shout out to my dad because he has not stopped talking about it for weeks on end. But I can't blame him because I think he'd be a great guest too. Might need to put in a call to Mr. Uncle Carl at MBM Motorsports, Garage 66. That, ladies and gentlemen, will be the episode of all time. I'm calling it now.
Don't get rid of that quote. Put that back up. Also, side note before we move on from Carl, that's crazy because we'll have two Domino's delivery driving NASCAR drivers in the chat at the same time. Me and Carl Long. Anyways, trivia question time. Trivia time. Mason Maggio and RJ, do you guys know the answer to this question?
I don't know. You haven't told us yet.
I do. I'm seeing if you know before I answer it.
I don't know. And I'm scared that what you're gonna say.
No, it's actually a good trivia question.
No, I do not know. I was trying to think, but I don't.
Starting on the last row of the 2024 Explore the Pocono Mountains 225. That is the answer. Wow. That is what we have.
That is right. Was that when he was in the 6 for JD?
Yep, and we also grew up in the Northeast go-karting together. He's a New Jersey guy too. Similar background, similar people interacted with growing up. So good kid. Excited to have him on. I called him a few weeks ago. So that'll be a good guest to have.
He's a great guy. I've known him. I've known him for a while. He ran an Instagram page right next to mine. I came through the ranks running an Instagram page, and we met up at Daytona. I met up to do his interview. Ryder PJ says we are so back because they have both been spotted by him.
Yeah,
baby. But yeah, I go to do an interview with Thomas after he had finished, I believe, second in the ARCA race last year at Daytona. We talked after, and he was like, "Yeah, you ran this page." I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I ran this page, and I used to, follow your stuff and try to keep up with you, and blah blah blah." And now I'm driving race cars, and I'm like, "Holy cow, you are a cool dude." So it's awesome to see his journey. He's a badass race car driver.
You remember?
I'm trying to grow up to be like RJ too, ladies and gentlemen. Just that's a long story short. Story short.
Anyways, did you talk about yet how you ignored me when I originally tried to give you advice on a podcast years ago? Did you talk about that one yet? Huh, RJ? Did you? Did you?
Yeah, back in what was it, 2021? You sent me that message
before I was ever a NASCAR driver.
When I was doing my podcast with Tommy Joe, I guess Stephen Malazzi had DM'd me about a suggestion for a show, and I never read it. To be fair, look.
Whoa! She read it.
I read it eventually,
and then ignored it.
I didn't read it and ignored it. By the time you sent me the next message, that's when I saw it. I'm sure. I don't know exactly how it went, but
you're gonna read and ignore these nuts.
Look, man, those Instagram DMs back then when my account started getting a little crazier, the whole algorithm was glitched up.
I get it.
They'd only put certain ones at the top, and they'd put certain ones down there. I remember even this year, somebody I was in Daytona. It was the 500 weekend. I forgot his name, but he's a crew guy on Austin Dillon's Cup car. And I go into a restaurant. I forgot. It was called Charlie Horse. Went into a restaurant to go eat. I leave, and I get a DM from this guy saying, "You eating at the same place I am?" I'm like, "What the hell?" I'm like, yeah, and that was crazy because that was the first time I'd ever been recognized NASCAR-wise without anything on, without any Motor Stardom stuff on. Like I was just ripping like probably a baseball jersey and a Nike hat. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, who is this guy? Open it up. Freaking like tire changer or something on the number 3 team. And I was like, hell yeah.
I'll only tell you this because I think it's a running gag on this show, and otherwise I don't think I'd ever bring this up. Most of the time that I get recognized without being in racing attire is because I get compared to John Belushi, and people will recognize that I'm the NASCAR driver who looks like John Belushi.
Are you going to say something about women?
No. What? No, that's Mason Maggio, buddy.
Sure is.
Maggio. Anyways, before we talk about Mason Maggio and women, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's time for the wrap-up. So, you know who we all are. RJ Starvik, Mason Maggio, and NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series last place finisher Stephen Malazzi and part-time lawyer. Guess what? We do this every Tuesday, 7 o'clock. We've got guests. We've got people you want to hear from. We've got eye doctors. We've got race car drivers. We've got team owners. We've got commentators. And, of course, we've got Mason Maggio's cohort of women. So, if you want more of that action, 7 p.m. every Tuesday. We'll see you next week on the Motor Stardom Show.
Shout out to Amir Alexander. We got to have him on. Some point.